Hey everyone, this is Ari, and I have a very special announcement to make before we get into today's podcast episode. Right now, during April 2019, for the next few days only from April 4th through April 15th, we're releasing our Energy Blueprint Masterclass training series that's designed to help you beat fatigue and dramatically increase your energy levels. This masterclass training is normally $197, but right now, just for the next few days until April 15th, you can get access to this 100% free as my gift to you. In this masterclass training, I'm going to show you the exact 6-step blueprint for overcoming fatigue and getting your energy back, and how to literally rewire your body to produce more energy at the cellular level. Now, if you've already seen our masterclass videos previously, then I have good news, because I just completely redid all 4 of those masterclass videos just in the last few months with brand new content, including research that has just come out in the last year. And I've packed them with literally more than double the content and strategies that the previous videos have. Trust me, this is absolutely must-see material for everybody who cares about their health, and certainly everyone looking to overcome chronic fatigue or chronic low energy levels, or people who are already pretty healthy and just want to take their energy to new heights. To get access to these masterclass videos, just go to theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass, all one word, masterclass. theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass. Once you sign up there, you're going to get 4 power-packed masterclass videos. And right now, just until April 15th, this is all 100% free. Now, I promise, even if you've been studying health for years or decades, and you think you know it all, and you've heard it all, and read it all, and seen it all, you're going to be blown away by the material that I'm sharing here. It's packed with powerful techniques that you've never heard of before, and some really critical must-know information for everybody dealing with chronic fatigue or low energy levels. So just, again, go to theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass. You can get access right now, 100% free. And again, this is all shutting down on April 15th. So mark these dates down on your calendar. Masterclass 1 comes out on April 4th. So by the time you're listening to this, Masterclass 1 will have already been released. That's Thursday, April 4th. And then Masterclass 2 comes out on Monday, April 8th. The 3rd Masterclass on April 11th, and the 4th on April 15th. So go take action on this right now. Just go to theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass, and you can get access right now. Okay, now let's get into today's podcast episode. In this episode, I am talking to Kundalini Yoga expert and yoga teacher, Kimilla Grace, who is my personal and my wife's personal yoga teacher. We do her classes every day. And she's also become a friend of mine. And she is just a wonderful human being and an amazing yoga teacher. And I've really experienced some powerful physical benefits and energetic benefits from this practice, and especially practicing the way that she teaches. And this is something that I feel is a really unique and powerful tool in the arsenal of strategies to improve your energy levels. So this is something I'm very excited to share with you all. At the same time, this is also a very unique conversation, very different conversation from the kinds of conversations that I normally have on this podcast with people. Normally, I'm really emphasizing, kind of hardcore science and evidence-based information and cutting-edge science and talking to people who are doctors and researchers and things like that, who are geeking out on all kinds of, science-y concepts. In this case, this is really not a deeply scientific conversation because it's not necessarily a deeply scientific topic. So it's unique in that sense. My goal here is not so much to give a scientific treatise on yoga. It's actually to, kind of talk a bit about the background of it and introduce you to Kimilla. And then also, part of what we're doing in this podcast that's extremely different from any other podcast that I've done is we're actually going to give you a little taste of Kundalini yoga practice. So she's actually going to guide you through a brief, I think it's about a 10 or 15 minute practice so that you can actually experience this. Obviously, if you're listening to this in a car, you can't really do it. So ideally, if you can, or whenever you can, let's say if you're listening to the majority of this podcast in a car, come back to the YouTube version of this podcast, find it on YouTube or go to my site, theenergyblueprint.com. And and find the YouTube video and actually follow along with that practice. So maybe that's later today or whatever, or maybe it's right now if you're watching this video right now and you have the freedom to be able to do that. So that's really the key element of this. Now, I also want to mention that within a topic like this, something like Kundalini Yoga, which is coming out of a certain ancient tradition and ancient practices, it's using jargon and it's using language that are not the same language that we speak in Western science. And there are concepts and theories and ideas that they're throwing out, for example, related to chakras and meridians and Kundalini energy and, all sorts of sort of esoteric, spiritual, Eastern stuff like that, that is really a totally different language than Western science. Now, having said that, even though much of that stuff is not proven or is not accepted within Western science, and many, people in the Western science model would look at it all as nonsense, the reality is that it is the case that even though many of those things are not yet proven or may never be proven, there's still legitimacy to the practices themselves. And I'll give you an idea of what I mean. So for example, there are things in Chinese medicine that have their theories and the underpinnings of why they've developed those methods revolve around meridians and, how energy is flowing through meridians. And none of that stuff, is the language of Western science. Most Western scientists would brush that all as nonsense. But many of those methods have actually been proven by Western science to work. So as an example, many Chinese herbs, for example, whereas, if you look in Chinese medical texts, they might discuss the mechanism of action of those herbs in the context of how they're affecting meridian flow through the liver or gallbladder or something to that effect. In Western medical literature, they might discuss the effects in terms of anti-inflammatory effects or neuroprotective effects, or how they're affecting the mitochondria, or adaptation to stress and blood flow and, various things like that. So they're speaking a different language, but I want to encourage you all, if you're coming from a very skeptical, hardcore sort of Western science background, to not be so quick to brush off these things, because even in a case like meditation, like yoga, even though they're speaking the traditional languages that these theories have been built on, and the languages that those traditions speak is not the same language as Western science. The reality is we now have lots of science showing that, meditation and various forms of yoga and breathing practices like those done in Kundalini Yoga actually do have profound effects on the brain and the body, and, the central nervous system, and as far as vagal stimulation and decreasing stress activity in the central nervous system, hormonal effects, mitochondrial effects, enhancing the cardiovascular system. There's all kinds of layers of benefits to these practices. And so science, Western science, is really just starting to uncover, as we're testing these things, starting to uncover all the sort of layers of how beneficial these practices are. But I will tell you firsthand that even though, again, that these practices don't speak the language of Western science, they are incredibly beneficial. I've experienced the benefits in my own life. I recommend these practices to pretty much everybody, and I think they are an incredibly important tool in your arsenal for overcoming fatigue and improving your energy levels. So with that in mind, and with this long, unusually long intro that I've given here as background and context for understanding this whole podcast, I want to welcome you and introduce you to Kimilla now. And I hope, again, that you will follow along with this, the practice at the end of this podcast, and actually, set aside 10 or 15 minutes to actually follow along and do this and have your first experience with Kundalini Yoga. So with all of that said, enjoy the podcast. Hey there, welcome back to the Energy Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Ari Whitten, and today I have with me a very special guest, a person who has become my personal yoga teacher and my wife's yoga teacher, and who has also become a friend and who is just a wonderful, wonderful human being and yoga teacher. She's a Kundalini Yoga expert, and she's the founder of Kimilla TV and the creator of the 10-day transformation yoga course and yoga detox, and the author of the new book, Yoga Love. She's currently producing yoga videos in exotic locations, including Bali, Kauai, Byron Bay, Australia, and Bhutan for her online yoga school. She's certified in a number of different modalities and yoga types and certifications. So Hatha Yoga and Meditation, Kundalini Yoga levels 1 and 2, kinesiology, PKP, and a variety of other certifications. And she's just an amazing yoga practitioner. I've personally been doing yoga for, maybe 15 years now, something like that, maybe 17 years. I even was certified at one point as a yoga teacher and did some teaching myself. And I've seen it and done it all when it comes to yoga. And I have to say that she is my absolute favorite yoga teacher of all the classes I've done. I enjoy hers the most. So I'm excited to bring you guys Kimilla. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. And I love sharing my yoga story, and it's always amazing to connect with like-minded souls, especially you and your wife, who are working for the evolution and the healing of humanity. So it's exciting to connect with your audience today, and I hope that we can share some yoga videos with you. And the Kundalini Yoga is very powerful in transforming energy. So it helped me as a child when I was doing yoga with my mother, and then as a teenager I continued, and it was mainly Hatha Yoga. So I have developed many stories and breakthroughs in my life and been so inspired as I became a yoga teacher to share the teachings, and especially Kundalini Yoga, because the Kriyas are pure magic. The yoga sets, they're named Kriyas, and we work with thousands of different yoga Kriyas. We can work with specific Kriyas for certain conditions: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And we work to transform the person, their life. The most amazing gift that I've received is Kundalini Yoga. At age 21, when I was doing my teacher trainings, I found Kundalini Yoga, and it was a point of no return. So I love teaching this particular modality, and it's basically every single video that I've created is Kundalini Yoga.
Yeah.
Not saying that other yogas are not amazing and powerful. They are all amazing, and I honor all of the teachers and all of the lineages. So just in particular, the Kundalini path was what transformed my life the most profoundly. And as a teenager and a powerhouse, I definitely was lucky, because yoga was part of my daily practice, as well as surfing. And I guess I was in a stressed out situation in my teenage years, but nothing that I couldn't handle with yoga. And I did turn to yoga.
Let's talk about that, because one of the things that you mention in your bio is that Kundalini Yoga, or yoga, when you were a teenager, saved your life, and you use that word, saved your life. So I would love for you to just kind of talk a bit about your background and your story, and how you got into yoga, and how it saved your life.
So I got into yoga when I was very young, and my mother had these beautiful books and videos, and they were of a beautiful Indian Swami. So she was the yoga teacher that came to Australia and had created the books and the videos that people followed, and yoga retreats. And she, to me, was the picture of the divine feminine. So I idolized this image of the woman, this goddess, this yogini, and it just stayed with me. So as a teenager, I followed my yoga practices and developed more power with them. And so whenever I came into a stressful situation in a relationship, or there was abuse or trauma, I had this toolkit, and over the years I developed quite an extraordinary toolkit, especially once I became a teacher. So there were major traumas. I guess they were a gift, because having received the tools, I could then master these traumas by transforming them into empowerments. And as a teacher, I saw lots of people, the students were carrying similar traumas, major abuse, whatever it was. And I knew that these kriyas of Kundalini Yoga were designed to bring their mind and their body back into equilibrium and bring them back to their power. So the Kundalini energy is the energy of you, your creative essence, your totality, your infinite potential. No matter what dramas are going on, what traumas are going on, what chronic illness you have, it can activate your consciousness, your energy, and make you feel balanced. So it's a great boost. And it's a daily commitment. Once you start and you continue daily, that's when you start to see the results and the unraveling of these layers of trauma and stress and illness.
Yeah. From a scientific perspective, there's a lot of research around what are called adverse childhood events, or, it's basically childhood trauma of various kinds. And it could be, as serious as physical and sexual abuse, or it could be neglect or verbal abuse or something to that effect. But there's a lot of research linking those adverse childhood events and childhood trauma with illness later in life, and with, chronic disturbances, for example, in the function of the stress, the hormonal stress response systems, or the way certain brain regions are wired, and, parasympathetic nervous system tone, like kind of how, whether you're more in the fight or flight state, or the relaxed rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And so there's a lot of kind of layers of research of how this affects us on a physiological level. But I'm really curious, if you don't mind sharing a bit of, and feel free to not answer this, but I'm just curious if you're willing to share a little bit of, kind of what specific traumas that you dealt with in childhood.
So I definitely was traumatized from parts of childhood and the teenage life. And I believe that a lot of the traumas and the imprints are occurring during the time in the womb, and preconception and conception and the birth process. But funnily enough, I just had a dinner with the midwife who witnessed my birth, and she shared the experience that it was such divine energy and how beautiful the birth was. And my mother had told me my whole life that when I was born, she thought I was an angel. And I've always been blessed by that imprint. And it was funny and ironic that my mother was the person that later on had this difficult, abusive type relationship, and I ended up leaving home because of it very early. And so
that was her relationship with a male partner?
No, it was actually toward me. It was projected onto me.
I see.
And so I was managing this for a long time and trying to help and transform and fix, and it kind of felt like I was the mother. And her addictive behaviours and her patterns of abuse and her traumas that were unresolved from her childhood were being carried through and projected onto me and my siblings, and my father. So that was what I learnt through her being a mirror to what is possible. And it was extreme because this was another gift. She would go away and do yoga retreats and transform herself and come home, and I would see that she'd transformed. And I'd have hope and I'd think, wow, I've got this amazing mother. But then after a while, it would revert back to the traumatized mother. So that went on and on and on, and into my 20s that continued. But in my 20s, I had the tools and I set boundaries, and I created so many ways to manage this sadness, this depression, this trauma, and this abuse, so that I could live my life and follow my dreams without feeling like I had been completely wounded. And many of the processes that I did with the yoga, the meditation, and the psychology training were based around the relationships that I had with my parents, because I think they were the ultimate imprints. And yes, I agree with you that we are always going to be processing those imprints from childhood for our life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, discharging any of those charges so that we are in a neutral state, and that's pure presence. That's how we feel when we're in our heart. That's how we feel when we're following our truth, when we're just neutral.
Yeah, beautifully said. And so yoga came into your life and really kind of showed you the path through all of that, and helped you navigate through it and kind of release some of that trauma and that stress and get to a more peaceful place in your life.
Yes. Maybe it was because I had experienced abuse. I then also attracted more experiences that would have been extreme traumas for non-yogis and could have caused like a string of tragedy. But I always converted it into this transformation and positive experience. So traveling around the world at a young age and having experiences I had to transform because they were so dark were, in my opinion, the ultimate gift and testament to the teachings that I'd been given working. So understanding how to, I guess, give a mantra or a Kundalini Yoga Kriya to the exact trauma and then practice it every day for 40 days was what I experienced in my own process. And so then I was very empowered and confident about teaching others. And that's how the 10-day transformation became my original yoga course. And I was just basically refusing to teach one-off classes because I didn't want people to put a Band-Aid on their issues and their traumas. I felt like they must step up and commit to actually reversing their traumas and deleting them so that they could birth their own life, their own destiny. Because that's what I had to do. I had to put a lot of effort in. I had to put a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of sadhana, and devote myself to this transformation because there was so much there that needed to be healed. And I thought that everybody else had this same kind of, they were carrying similar things, just they had a different story, but it was all suffering basically.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. I'm really curious to dig into some of the differences between Kundalini Yoga and some of the other forms of yoga. So for people that are not familiar with this term Kundalini Yoga or have never experienced it, can you describe how it differs from some of the more traditional sorts of yogas that are more commonly practiced, like Hatha Yoga or Vinyasa or Ashtanga and that sort of thing? What's going on that differentiates it?
Okay. Since I was, say, 21, I've devoted myself to the Kundalini Yoga practice. Prior to that, I loved doing the more masculine types of yoga. I did a lot of Bikram and Ashtanga, and when I did that classical study year, I was focused on learning the basics of all of those yogas. And I touched into them, and what I found was they lacked this spiritual component that we work with in Kundalini Yoga with our kriyas and our mantras, and they are a part of every single practice. So I just opened myself up to that. And this lineage of Kundalini Yoga comes from the Raj Yoga lineage, and that it was kept secret. So it was passed on from master to disciple and given to the royalty. And when Yogi Bhajan, the master of Kundalini Yoga, received this vision to bring this teaching out of secrecy and to the West, it was in the 60s. So he basically started teaching in 69 in America. And it was very different. It was like a drug. I found that when I did these practices, I felt so high. And I think the people in the 70s also connected to that because they were getting high on drugs, and that liberation movement was so out. And then when they found yoga, whether it was another form of yoga or Kundalini, they felt like it was the ultimate high. And that's the spiritual aspect, because it really lifts the spirit. It opens up the pineal and the pituitary gland, and we get connected to our higher consciousness straight away. And that's what it is with Kundalini. It acts fast. So for me, I wanted the fastest gateway to the divine portal of creation. So the other yogas gave me this subtle, calm energy, this feeling of balance, this feeling of confidence. And then Kundalini was like rocket fuel. And that was the major difference. It was fast activating. And I liked that it had so many options. If you went to a class, like I traveled to the US and I'd go into the classes and it was like a rock and roll concert. There was music. There was this gong. There was this sound of the universe coming through their whole class. And I couldn't compare it to anything else, any other yoga class after that. So that's where I got inspired, and I brought it back home. And there were a couple of teachers in Australia, but nothing radical because it's very much, it's very conservative. The core energy was over in LA and New York. And Summer Solstice, the festival in New Mexico once a year. That's where I would go and be exposed to all these teachers, and every single class was a whole new dimension. We got access to thousands of kriyas, meditations and mantras, and we are working with the Sikh lineage, this religion, and it's a very precise science. So a lot of the other yogas I found were becoming so diluted, and in Kundalini Yoga, the code of conduct requires us to not change the teachings. It's quite strict like that, and that's what I love. I'm a purist, and it just resonated so well with me that I just had to focus on transmitting those teachings, those kriyas, those exercise sets or meditations in the clearest, purest way. And I found that the other yogas were almost like confusing because it was just what the teacher had decided to do on that day, rather than that exact formula of the kriya.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about things being diluted, because I have many years of experience. I've been doing yoga since I was a teenager, and it started actually with, just kind of, I actually had back pain from some of the weightlifting and that I was doing when I started weightlifting when I was maybe 14 or 15 years old. And I think also combined with the fact of just sitting in classes all day at school, I started to have back pain and really tight hamstrings. And I was also surfing, so I started to see that a lot of surfers were into yoga. So then I started getting into yoga for that reason, for purely an interest in just physically getting out of pain and becoming more flexible, and for just a purely physical angle. And the classes that I was doing, what I was getting from teachers was very much focused on that physical aspect of things. Yoga was a workout, yoga was for flexibility, yoga was to stretch your muscles. But the way that you teach yoga is radically different from that. It's not about the workout necessarily. It's not about stretching, though sometimes you do get a good workout, a great workout in some of the kriyas that you do. But it's really not the focus. It's not about the physical workout and the physical stretching and mobility. It's about plugging into working on your energy layer, basically. And energy in a sort of internal energy like chi and prana, and it's called different things by different traditions. But there's something there, it can be debated in lots of ways in the scientific circles, but there's something there that has unquestionable effects on our psyche and in our brain. And we know this from brain scans on meditators and yogis, and we know it from looking at changes in mood and health and all kinds of different things, that we can see that people who do these practices get healthier and get psychologically healthier and get out of depression and things like that. But what is this layer of that that the kriyas are really trying to access? So if it's not about just flexibility and stretching muscles and getting a workout, what is it that you're really after with Kundalini Yoga?
You're after the feeling of the Kundalini energy. And this is the technology known on the planet that's the technology to awaken that energy in a balanced, safe way. Drugs can awaken it. Other forms of yoga can awaken it slowly. This is the fastest technique that I've come across that is drug-free and that is completely safe, that has been practiced for the long time, from the ancient times and passed through lineages so sacred. And I just trust that this is the way for me and souls like me who have got that calling to tap into their own Kundalini energy and work with the physical body, with the breath, with the sound current to access that energy. And I bring in other modalities with my teaching. So I've been all over the world and I've worked with other people, avatars even in India. And I did incorporate a lot of those psychology and energy teachings into my teachings and my videos at a subtle level. So my dialogue or my instructional aspect comes from other parts of me that aren't necessarily the Kundalini Yogini.
What do you mean by that? Explain more.
I have to say that I devoted myself to many other practices and teachers that were nothing to do with Kundalini Yoga, and they influenced me. I was pretty unprogrammed because I was in my 20s. I hadn't already had other careers or relationships. I just had this yoga thing, and this traveling yogini went and learned as many things from shamans and avatars and high priestesses and people that I met along the way, and they influenced my teachings.
So one of the things you do in your videos is you have videos of you teaching, and then separately you have videos of you kind of just sitting in a meditative posture and narrating them, and then you edit it in a way that you kind of switch back and forth so that the narration matches what you're physically demonstrating. Is that kind of some of the reason you do that is because it's almost like two different ways of being, two different kind of parts of your brain?
Yeah, there's the teacher aspect and then there's the yogi doing the demos, and it's really important that you're involved as a teacher at that level with the person physically and then energetically. I don't know, there's something about when I'm teaching a class that I love the instructional aspect, and I also love the music, and the videos were a learning curve. So they were a complete experiment, but I had this vision since I was 18, and I even went to film school at Sydney Uni because I knew I had to do yoga videos. So it was just this journey of finding anybody that would hold a camera and shoot me. And anywhere I was, even in Bhutan, like that happened in such a cosmic way. And it always came out that the best video was all about the instructions.
Yeah, it's beautiful the way you do your videos. I mean, you film them in gorgeous locations, and you're obviously a beautiful woman, and so you're pleasant to look at as well, so that helps. But you edit them in a beautiful way. Like everything is just beautifully done, from the location to the way that they're narrated. Like it's a pleasure to watch them and do them. Yeah, no, it's really, really well done. But yeah, again, I kind of want to come back to this thing because I've even done I've done Kundalini Yoga from a number of other teachers.
Yes.
And one thing that I see that really differentiates you is so many other people are caught up in the physical aspect of what's going on and kind of give instructions on that level of whatever you're doing in that particular kriya. But you're very plugged into the internal aspects of where are you putting your mindset, what sort of attitude and emotion are you taking to it, what are you doing with your awareness and kind of the movements of internal energy and your internal focus or external focus. Sometimes you keep your eyes open in some postures, and also the bandhas, the sort of internal clenchings of muscles in order to stimulate movements of energies.
Yes.
I'm just curious to hear. I mean, that's kind of my perspective on that, but can you shed some light on maybe that aspect of things and kind of the importance of those layers of the teaching beyond just what's going on physically?
Yeah, when I'm in that role of sharing instructions, I just get guided to be in the energy of the practitioner, the audience, and then speak from their perspective to their mind so that I can cut through the mind and its distractions and sabotages and then inspire them to create their ultimate practice. So it's always dictated from a different place. I don't script anything, and I don't watch any other yoga videos. So I'm not trying to copy anybody or duplicate anybody. And I find that that's kind of rare. That's pretty much me. I actually like to just keep things very natural and see what happens. And I like to be put on the spot and feel like I'm on the edge with no preparation, but that's when the divine can come through. I haven't preconceived my potential in any limit, and then I have this unlimited opening or gateway to access. I don't have any attachment to how I perform or what I say or what I look like. I just throw it all together in the most natural way that I can.
Yeah, beautiful. So on a practical level, for people that are unfamiliar with maybe yoga entirely, or the sorts of yogas that we're talking about here that go beyond just physical stretching and mobility, and go into the sort of energetic and spiritual aspect of things, what do you think how would you best describe some of the benefits that someone would get on a practical level? Like, again, speaking to people that are not already doing this, what have you seen as far as, I guess, yourself, but also a lot of the students that you've had, as far as how they've grown from doing this sort of practice?
Yes. So definitely flexibility and the connection of body, breath, mind, and spirit. And that's pretty much a mainstream conversation these days. It's not that out there, but because yoga does connect us to our body and our energy body and the spirit, and we find our intelligence after we've sat and gone into calmness and gone into that meditative mind where we sit as a neutral being, we have access to our truth. So on the practical level, I would say that that's why we do these practices. We calm the mind, and then we sit in stillness at zero, and we want to access that point of nothing where we can experience everything that we possibly could be, and we can receive a vision. We're not distracted. We're absolutely open. We're awakened in that moment. And we don't have to be in India or Bhutan. We just have to be doing it anywhere at any time that we need it. We use it as a practical tool to shift our energy. So rather than a religious mask, it becomes just this everyday game of energy, and you play the game right and you're going to have amazing energy that day. You can combat any negative forces with this. It's so easy.
Yeah. I'll speak to what I've noticed too in my personal life, which is certainly that it impacts physical energy levels after you do it. Like, just, you feel energized and you feel so much vitality in your body from doing these practices regularly, and even immediately. You feel it immediately right after doing it, during doing it, and certainly for hours after. The mood changes. When I go a couple days, I was just down in Mexico for a business event for a couple days, and there were a couple days where just the timing of the schedule that day, I couldn't get in a class, one of your classes during those days, and I feel it. I feel that there's more tension, there's more anxiety. My mood isn't as positive. I'm not as energized as I would be, and so you feel those sorts of subtle things. And I also know of this is actually kind of a friend of a friend, but her name is Kelly Brogan, and she's a psychiatrist here in the United States, and kind of a holistic psychiatrist. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Okay. Well, she's very much into the natural medicine and kind of helping people get off a lot of the psychiatric drugs. And she's a huge advocate of Kundalini Yoga. She's like one of the biggest advocates of Kundalini Yoga, and because she's seen it transform so many people's lives who are dealing with. Yeah, she's written at least one book that came out, I think, about 6 months or a year ago.
I think I've been recommended her book by another doctor called Hyla Cass.
Yeah.
Who's a similar person who has her own online platform for psychiatric health and consciousness.
Yeah, I've heard of Hyla Cass as well, but I haven't seen her work. But yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating kind of how word is getting out. And, you know,
Mm.
it's interesting. There's all these kind of layers of the practice that you're talking about as far as the energy and Kundalini and tapping into sort of creative source energy and feeling prana in your body and kind of all those layers. But there's also these very sort of practical everyday benefits of better mood and better energy levels and better
Yes.
brain function and focus and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Yes. I've this year I've had my head down. I've been studying kinesiology, so my whole focus now with my new videos will be sharing the dialogue. Will have a lot of kinesiology and Chinese medicine techniques that'll come in around the meridians and how they affect our organs and our emotions. And I find that in my yoga training, there was like a missing link. It's almost like a piece of the puzzle that was missing. And so I found it during this study of kinesiology, and it's brought so much inspiration to return to making videos and add a new dimension of teaching that isn't out there. Like your friend, the psychiatrist, how she can go and specialize and teach people with that. We have people out there that are giving Kundalini yoga classes now that are doctors. So it's just an amazing new level, I think. People have skills beyond the yoga teacher training, which is a 3-week course, which is quite scary.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. My next question was actually going to be, how has your personal practice and your thinking and understanding of Kundalini Yoga changed over the years since you've started practicing? Like, how has your own personal understanding of it and practice evolved?
Massively.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was the ultimate devotional yogi and teacher, and I would do anything for Kundalini Yoga in my early career. And I would drop anything to go and be with my teachers and create retreats and create events. I would take people on these beautiful retreats and events that just manifested. So I just devoted everything to creating these Kundalini Yoga experiences. And when I landed in Bali and I did it for 3 years, I saw the spiritual gold rush firsthand. And I actually freaked out a little bit and I thought, wow, this is not what I thought it would be. There was a lot of greed. It was basically avarice in my face, and a lot of exploitation and jealousy and control and manipulation, I guess. So I just sat on the periphery and I started to do my videos more and more so I could just disconnect from the industry and have my own little bubble that was not touched by others. And since then, I haven't really gone back fully. It's like I've kept my distance, and then it gave me more space. I wasn't all consumed by it, and it's given me this space to explore so many other things and expand myself as a woman. And I let go of it. I did definitely let go of it. And
You let go of what?
Of the identity of Kundalini Yoga.
I
felt that I needed to. And then I realized the programming that had come through the lineage to me. And I also let go of that in a graceful way because I still love it and am so grateful for it. And I also feel a little bit contracted when people come to me and ask for my advice about teacher trainings because I'm in conflict there because of the programming and the religious thread that is seeping into everything on the planet, not just in Kundalini Yoga, but in all teachings. There seems to be this dogma, and the practices I feel are so divine. The people that are in the communities are a mixed bunch of people, as in all communities. You've got the hierarchies, you've got the high rollers, you've got the people with the biggest online platforms controlling everything. So as we know, where is the authentic gift in this? And I just encourage people to just do their sadhana. And that's their daily discipline, their practice. And that's where they find their gold. Doesn't mean drop everything and go and become a teacher. If you get the calling, by all means, definitely follow it. But I also feel that it can kind of take people down a path that is something they might get very confused with.
Yeah, there's also one thing that I've encountered a lot, because I've, as having done yoga for many, many years and been in a lot of circles of yogi practitioners, there's also a layer of spiritual narcissism, of people whose egos get inflated. And I think it's in a really insidious way, because these are often people who are proclaiming that they don't have an ego and that their ego is smaller than yours, and but it becomes like almost a pissing contest of who is the most enlightened, and so there's this really insidious form of narcissism among a lot of people in those communities, where they don't even realize that they're narcissistic. So I definitely agree with you that there are certainly people to be avoided in those
I try to say it in the most gentle way, but that's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
And it breaks me when I have these innocent young women on Instagram or on YouTube come to me to say, I want to do what you're doing. And they have this image and this ideal that being a yoga teacher would be so wonderful. And I just share with them, I honestly say, please only follow this if it's something that you feel is your calling. It's a serious game of ego.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, just interesting.
Yeah.
I've got a long journey of dealing with it. Yeah.
So one other layer to this that I wanted to get into is to kind of describe the flow of Kundalini, like what it feels like in your body, and kind of like what it's doing, I guess, on a what it's doing on a physiological level. And you don't have to get super sciencey on me. You can kind of keep it in the more mystical aspect of things, but kind of what it's helping you actually do.
Do you think I have a scientific bone in my body?
I don't. Well, I said the word physiology, so I didn't want to go, to make you feel like you need to start describing anatomy and the function of the liver and that sort of thing.
It depends on what state you're in as to what effect it's having on you in that moment. And it also depends on what technique you're working with to know which part of you is going to be energized, balanced, activated, stimulated, exploded, unblocked. So I believe that it has a divine intelligence, your Kundalini energy, and it'll go into you to the place that it needs to go, and it will shift energy and clear a pathway and connect pathways that may have been disconnected or traumatized. So as a person breathes and expands their lungs and goes through the movements, the spine, whatever they're working with, each meridian is connected to an organ, and you're going on an elemental level, you're going on a chakra level, you're working at the 10 bodies. In Kundalini Yoga, we work on 10 bodies. The physical body is one body of 10. So it's just such a multi-dimensional function. And that's why we use it, because you're covering all your bases. It makes sense because we're so busy and life is so precious that let's do our yoga practice that has the maximum impact and makes us feel like we've done the highest thing we could have for our activation of our true self.
Yeah.
And if there's a day that you miss your practice, as you said earlier, you kind of feel it. It's almost a little bit of a self-sabotage when you're relying on that energy activation. So yeah, it gives you that edge. It gives you that sense of self-victory. And I think that is the biggest asset. When you've got the feeling of self-victory, you're covered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Protected,
Yeah. I actually remember now what I was going to ask you when I spaced a minute ago. which is, you were describing how you've kind of disconnected from the community. You don't watch other people's videos. You don't really go to the retreats anymore, that sort of thing. I was thinking as you were describing this, what you're describing is kind of a transition of you realizing that you're ready to teach, that you have enough mastery over the material that you kind of transition from a seeker, and where the power is externalized, you need to get this information and this wisdom and this enlightenment from other people outside of yourself, to you realizing that it's basically within you and you have the tools necessary to access it. And now you're transitioning into a teacher.
Sure. That's
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, I think it takes a lot of courage to make a transition like that, and to kind of pull away from the herd and say, and kind of declare to the world, especially publicly, online, to the whole world, instead of just sort of your local yoga studio, but to declare like, hey, I'm a teacher. I have mastery within Kundalini Yoga. I can share this wisdom with you. So how was that process like for you?
So it's been gradual. Because I'm a sensitive being, I didn't want to release my videos for a long time, the first layer of them. And I took my time, and I'd let the calling come through of when I could share the next thing and expose the next thing. And it's even like my book, I've been sitting on that for 3 years, and I'm only just about to release it. So I'm not in a hurry. I'm not competing against anybody, and I'm just happy to be in my own process. So I guess I came through Kundalini Yoga in such a rapid evolutionary way as a young teacher that I lost my own focus because I was so devoted to it. And then all of a sudden I was just given this freedom. Everything just ended. I thought, oh, I'm exhausted. I felt this is what I felt like. I felt like I was babysitting adults all the time. I really did. Like, I was just exhausted from being that person and pumping everybody up all the time. And the 10-day transformation was my baby. I loved it so much. It was such an amazing period teaching that. I was teaching that live. And so when I created the videos of that, then I finally felt like I could stop the physical classes and really just focus on my own teachings and myself. Yeah. I definitely had support from all of the yoga teachers around the world, and I love them all, and they're all different levels, and I don't consider any of them greater or lower or anything, but I just now realize that I'm not inspired by them. Whereas I used to draw on their teachings as inspiration. Now I'm more inspired by nature than ever, which I already was. So I just go into nature, and that's where I can activate myself and receive the downloads that I need. Just a direct connection. Even my sadhana changed dramatically from really early morning, disciplined, militant, great sadhanas. I was just thinking, how did I used to do that? So it changed. The way that I accessed my own practices changed, and I found that the energy was there permanently as well. So I didn't need the toolbox as my rescue and as my lifeline to feel radiant and feel magical and boost me. It was already there. That was cool.
So describe that transition. How did they change? Like, so you had kind of an early morning, more militant practice, and what exactly changed?
I was up at 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. doing sometimes 3 to 4 hours in the mornings for a very long time. And then throughout the day I'd do more practices, and at night I'd do another one.
Wow.
And I was a little bit like a monk, but in the real world, just doing lots of practice and living like a normal young woman, working and having fun. And I was very, very straight, obviously. And yeah, I just focused on that. A lot of my friends were out getting married and having babies, and they were in their 20s. And so I just decided that I was focused on my career and just my practice, my spiritual path. So yeah, the transition just came when I let go of it and let it happen naturally without forcing it, without the alarm clock, without, oh, you're not a proper yogi if you don't do it in that way, that Kundalini Yoga program way, where you're judged if you're not doing things a certain way. So yeah.
Yeah, very. So you became more relaxed, go with the flow, and realized that energy was accessible to you. You didn't have to do 4 hours of it and wake up at 4:30 in the morning, but you could access it throughout the day more without such hardcore, strict practices.
Totally, yeah. I grew out of it. I was probably around maybe 28 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already started doing a bunch of videos, and I just felt there was a shift collectively in what yoga was now that it was, we've come out of the 70s and the 80s where all of these teachings were documented, where all of these kriyas and these lectures by Yogi Bhajan were mainly given to us, and in the 90s, of course. But I actually felt like there was a bit of an expiry in some things, and I was ready to just go with that feeling. Not rebel against it in a negative way, but I kind of feel like it was an organic process to bring in new things and learn from new streams of thought. I've studied so many different streams of thought, so just to be more integrated, I guess, less like tunnel vision, to be everything, to be open to everything.
Yeah, beautiful. So, as we were discussing before we started recording, I would love to have you do a guided practice for everyone, because this is really, ultimately we can talk about this, but what really matters is ultimately for people to actually have the experience and start to feel what this can do for them. And I would love for you to give people a little taste of that with maybe a 10-minute or so guided practice. And are you cool with that?
Yes, let's do it.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let's begin. Bring your hands into prayer. Close your eyes. Center yourself. Let go of the mind. Return to the heart. Take a deep breath in through your nose. As you exhale, let it go. Relax your shoulders. Sit with your spine straight, your heart open. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, relax deeper inside. Just be in this moment. We will tune in with Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. This is the mantra we use in Kundalini Yoga. It invokes the divine teacher within us. It connects us to the golden chain. It's Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. Inhale to tune in. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. One more time. Inhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Taking a deep breath in. Suspending your breath. And as you hold this breath, set your intent for this Kundalini Yoga practice. Create your highest vision for yourself. Whatever it is you wish to create in your life, think about it and feel it in every cell of your body. And project this vision through your third eye at the center of your eyebrows. As you exhale, relax your hands down to your knees and open your eyes. Let's begin with Ego Eradicator. It's to energize your aura, and stretch your arms to 60 degrees, elbows straight, thumbs are up, and your fingertips are curled into the pads of your fingers. Your eyes will be closed. You will breathe through your nostrils. As you exhale through your nostrils, you pump your navel to your spine. Exhale and pump. Eyes closed. Open your arms to 60 degrees. Continue the breath of fire. Continue the breath of fire. Keep extending your arms through your aura, connecting all those energy centers, all those meridians. Keep breathing through your nose and pumping your navel. Open your heart center. You can pick up the pace and breathe powerfully. Pump your navel rapidly. Focus on your exhalation. Breath of fire. Continue this breath of fire. 1 more minute. You're going to purify your blood, energize your aura, your electromagnetic field. Lengthen that field. Let it surround your body. Let it radiate your essence. Keep holding the arms in position. You're nearly there. Focus within. Pump your navel. Breath of fire. Cleanse your blood. Completely switch yourself on now. Okay, inhale. Stretch your arms, touch your thumbs above your head, elbows extended, open your hands, stretch your fingertips up to the sky, hold your breath. Focus inward at your third eye, at the center of your eyebrows. Press your tongue to your upper palate, squeeze Mullaband, the rectum, sex organ and navel, pull the navel, draw the energy up, lengthen your spine, create space in your spine. And as you exhale, sweep your arms outward. Keep your eyes closed, grounding the energy that you've just activated. You've oxygenated your blood, your brain. You're switching on now. Hold your hands onto your knees. We'll do a spinal flex. Inhale, flex your spine forward. Exhale, round the spine back. Keep your head in one plane, just allowing the spine to flex between the shoulder blades. Breathe through your nose, inhaling forward, exhaling back. Flex the spine as you inhale forward, and then exhale, extend back. Long, deep breaths through the nose. Eyes closed, meditate within. Every exercise is a meditation. Long and deep breaths. When you find your own rhythm with your breath, you can increase the pace. Move powerfully. Dynamic movement stimulates energy. This is awakening the spine. Each chakra receives stimulation. Activate all energy centers in your spine. Keep breathing through your nose. Keep it simple. Focus on breath, rhythm, and movement. And relax as you do this. And keep your head still. Try to move your spine forward and back to the maximum. Open up your ribs back and forward. Let yourself experience the expansion and the contraction of energy. Breathe deep from your navel. Breathe powerfully. This is a very basic warm-up in Kundalini Yoga. You can do this seated with your legs crossed. You can do this kneeling. You can do this seated in a chair with your feet flat on the ground. You can be adapted if you're standing. Stay within. You can do this on all fours, known as cat-cow. Focus now on your breath. Circulate the Kundalini energy through the spine. Try to wake it up. Your Kundalini energy is your creative energy. It's your infinite potential. It's the energy of you and your totality. Find that energy now and breathe with that energy. Let it fire up. Powerful breath now, powerful movement. Don't hold back. We'll work with the mantra. This is a silent mantra. We meditate and we vibrate this mantra silently on the breath. Inhale Sat, exhale Nam. Breathe with your Sat, inhaling Sat, and then exhale Nam. That allows the mind to be focused. Because the mind gets distracted, we give it a mantra and it focuses on the mantra. Sat means true, Nam means you. It's an invocation of your true self. So work with it. As you do your exercises throughout your Kundalini Yoga sets, work with Sat Nam at every exercise. You need it. It stops the mind from hijacking your practice. Breathe deeply, open your nostrils, awaken your spine, shift your brain into the highest state of consciousness that you can get access to. Look into your pituitary gland at the center of your eyebrows and switch it on. Your higher awareness, your intuitive powers, access those. They will guide you. They will help you make decisions. They will give you the power to know what is right, what is going to support your highest purpose. Now inhale center. Lengthen your spine, shoulders relaxed, chin in, pull Mula Bandha, the root lock, squeezing the rectum, the sex organ and the navel. Holding the inhale, pressing your tongue to your upper palate, seal the effect of the exercise. Draw the energy up the spine, the Kundalini energy, let it spiral up your spine through your chakras. And feel it rising. Exhale. Moving up the spine into the thoracics and the heart, placing your hands on your shoulders, fingers in front, thumbs behind. Elbows are out at shoulder height. Another simple warm up. Inhale and twist left. Exhale and twist right. Inhale Sat. Exhale Nam. Inhale center. Hold this. Let the energy rise up. Apply root lock. Squeeze the rectum, sex organ and navel. Seal the base. Pull the navel. Open the heart. Let the Kundalini rise. The energy is rising through the spine. It's just a natural flow of energy. And then exhale, relax your arms down. How are you feeling?
Awesome. A lot better than I did 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Energy boost.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah, there's something special also about the breath of fire, which to my knowledge is not really practiced in any other form of yoga that I know. I mean, maybe it's part of some pranayama techniques, but certainly not really integrated in any other forms of yoga's classes that I've been to.
It certainly enhances the energy shift.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think the breath work practice too also, I think, just builds the lungs and the respiratory muscles in a way that probably boosts the efficiency of breathing the rest of the day and allows you to oxygenate your cells more efficiently.
Absolutely. It's doing an infinite thing for us. I'm so spaced out now. So I'm glad we did this at the end.
Yeah, that was a beautiful practice. Thank you so much. And that was I was actually amazed at how well you're able to integrate the teaching cues while you're doing the practice. It felt like I was practicing one of your videos, apart from the lack of the beautiful music that you edit into your videos as well.
Oh, I wish I could have licensing to all the music. Music licensing, that's an issue.
Yeah. So I hope everybody listening just got practiced. First of all, did that practice along with us and felt, or at least got a little bit of a taste of what this can do for you and how good it can make you feel. And if this was your first time, you might have been a little overwhelmed with some of the aspects of it, you know, the mula band and some of the rhythms of the breathing and how you synchronize it with the body and the mantra. It might have been a little bit too much for you if this was your first time. But I promise you, after you do this for literally 3 classes, 4 classes, everything becomes very much second nature. So Kimilla, that was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Obviously, you have a whole bunch of videos on YouTube that are accessible to anyone, but you also have a couple of courses on your site, and I know you have a book coming out. Can you talk about your courses that you sell on your site?
Yes, the 10-day transformation is the course that I've been teaching since I was very young. And when I created the video course, I shot live in Bali, one of my live events, and filmed this beautiful journey. And it starts on day 1 with an activation of an hour class, and it, I guess, eases beginners in. And by, as you said, by day 2 or day 3, so your 3rd class, you're pretty confident with the technique. It is different to other yogas, and you're working with dynamic movement, breath, mantra, and activating energy in a fast capacity. It's 10 days of 1-hour classes. So you receive the videos in your inbox and you do those videos at the time of day that you can fit it in, and you go through that process. The final day is a complete rebirth. You can imagine doing 1 hour of that technique, 1 hour of Kundalini Yoga a day, and experiencing multiple Kriyas, yoga sets, and meditations. You get a huge overview of what is possible, and all of this technology is kind of filled up in my courses. I maximize the teachings. I cram in as much as I possibly can in those 10-day transformations. And the new course that I'll be launching is a detox. It's Kundalini Yoga with kinesiology, and the kinesiology videos will enhance the Kundalini Yoga videos. They're energy balancing techniques that you can do on yourself to stimulate the meridians and certain points in the meridians called acupressure points. So these points are like release valves of stress and tension and toxicity in the body. And when I was studying kinesiology this year, I was blown away by the points that we could work with. And I combined them with liver detox. And the liver flush is a protocol that I've been using for many years. So when I would do the flush, I would do the points leading up to the flush. And I realized that the flush was more successful and was enhanced by stimulating certain points in the meridian system. So I decided that that would be a fun and effective course to teach. I'm very passionate about that. So that's the new course, and it's still being edited. The book I shot the images 3 years ago, and I was inspired to share the most beautiful part of Kundalini Yoga, which is the teachings for the heart chakra, because I believe that humanity is shifting to the heart, and we're welcoming all beings to that awakened space of the heart. And these are the sets, the kriyas, the meditations that specifically focus on heart chakra, heart meridian, awakening that vibration of heart consciousness. And I've added a few personal stories in the book, but it's mainly practical yoga techniques, and it's like a yoga manual. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, my favorite video of yours, the most favorite class that you have is the one that you call Green Energy of the Heart.
That's it.
Yeah, I love that practice. It's beautiful. I have actually two practical questions for you before we end.
Yeah.
One is, some people in my audience, my brand is the Energy Blueprint. So a lot of people that are listening to this have fatigue, either, moderate amounts of fatigue, and they're relatively healthy and they're looking to sort of get to very, very high energy levels and be functioning at their best. Other people have severe fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, and are looking to just get back to normal. One aspect of some of these practices, some of the kriyas, is they can be somewhat of a workout, somewhat physically energy intensive, and also you in particular go for a pretty long time in some of the postures. There are cases where even I'm like, how the hell is she still going? I'm worn out here. So what I'm getting at is sometimes with, and that's me speaking as somebody who's very physically fit. There are cases where somebody's going to be listening to this interview and they're dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome. They have little to no capacity for exercise. So do you have any recommendations for them as they watch your videos? Should they just kind of listen to their bodies, not do certain kriyas, or, how would you recommend that those people go about it?
In chronic fatigue syndrome, you would not be going to that level in those videos. You would choose the most gentle practice possible. And I was speaking to my kinesiology teacher in Byron Bay yesterday about chronic fatigue, and it's really about clearing the deepest traumas for that person, and also knowing the body and any toxic infections that might be there undermining the immune system and causing them to be in that state of fatigue. So there's so many layers. I recommend yoga is a tiny, tiny part of, and meditation is a tiny part of the quest to come back to balance. I love that topic, the chronic fatigue topic, the adrenal fatigue topic. I think it's epidemic at the moment on the planet, and most people don't understand what's happening. And I guess coffee or stimulants are just masking their symptoms, but they have to, because they've got children and they've got a career and they've got to keep up with this fast-paced world. So if you can still your mind and do deep processes with your meditation, I would recommend the videos that I have that are meditations and mantras for you, for chronic fatigue people. And the kriyas, the warm-ups are great. The heavier kriyas are 100% don't touch until you have your energy back to balance. So
yeah, perfect. And then the final question I have, also part of my own curiosity here, in your videos online, you have classes that often emphasize one energy center over another. For example, the green energy of the heart, or sort of the abdominal chakra, and that's associated with different kinds of emotional states, either love or courage. There's different emotions that correspond to different energy centers. Do you have any particular recommendations on like an order for people to work through different energy centers? Is there anything to that, or can people just sort of, kind of pick and choose whatever feels right that day?
yes, pick and choose.
Okay.
There's an intuitive aspect to every person, and it's almost like they need to be drawn, their higher self will be drawn to a certain process, a practice. If you're looking at all of these options of the videos, maybe you can ask yourself to choose for your highest good, which video would serve you in this moment. And in Kundalini Yoga, traditionally we select a practice and we follow it for 40 days minimum to get the benefits of it. So that's up to the person. If they wish to go deeper with one practice, you can start with 40 days of that. Have you done a 40-day practice, Ari?
I have not done 40 days of just one class. No.
Okay, so on a practical level, if you felt inspired and, as I said, that intuitive voice said to you, this practice is the one I'd like to do every day for a while, see what 40 days feels like.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a religious commitment. See what it feels like, and if you go through something for 40 days it causes a shift to happen. And then the old yogis will do it for 90 days or 120 days or 1,000 days for mastery. But
Wow.
I think we can become masters way quicker than that.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to try that. And I think I'm probably going to go with green energy of the heart. That's it.
Such a class. And chronic fatigue, that's totally fine as well for people that want to know which videos could work in that. If they still want to do exercise, walking and gentle exercise as yoga is totally beautiful. Restorative yoga is absolutely amazing. Yoga Nidra is the best thing for chronic fatigue.
Yeah, I recommend that a lot.
Of course.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, this has been so fun. I'm so excited to get this out to the world and share your message and your beautiful teachings. As I mentioned to you before we started recording, my wife and I are absolutely addicted to your classes. We do them together every morning, and yeah, absolutely love what you're doing. And I hope that many hundreds or thousands of people listening to this will become addicted to your classes just like I am.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I got to meet you today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I hope that next time you're in San Diego, you give me a Facebook message and we'll go surf together.
Yes, at Encinitas.
Yes. Wow. You know my towns well. I'm right next to Encinitas.
Oh, I've had a great time in the past down there. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So your website, just for people, is it KimillaTV.com?
No, that's the YouTube channel. My website is Kimilla, KIMILLA.com.
Okay. Excellent. And that's where people can find your courses, the 10-day transformation and soon to be the detox course.
Exactly. And my free yoga school, which is all of the YouTube videos put together in a format where you also receive PDFs as downloadable worksheets that you can follow of each video. So it gives you extra information more so than the YouTube channel.
Okay. So yeah, so let's direct people there then rather than the YouTube channel, and let's have them sign up for your free yoga school first. And I think that would be a great way for people to get an intro to this. And then if they want to go deeper, get the 10-day transformation.
Sounds good.
And when do you anticipate the detox program to be out?
Mid-November.
Okay, perfect. So this will probably be going out actually probably right around that time. So the detox course should be available right around the time that this podcast is coming out, if not soon after.
Yeah, that sounds great. Good timing.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Kimilla, thank you so much. Serendipity. So yeah, thank you so much. This has been a blast. I've really loved getting to meet you and get to do a personal guided practice live in real time with you. So
we only did 3 exercises, but hey.
Yeah.
At least we did something.
Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure, and I hope to chat with you again soon.
Lovely. Thank you, and have a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, this is Ari again. One more quick thing before you go. Just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Energy Blueprint, and also make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's iTunes or Stitcher or anything else. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and I will see you again next week. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. And just one more quick reminder before you go. Right now, until April 15th, just from April 4th through the 15th, we're releasing our Energy Blueprint Masterclass training. This training is packed with science-based strategies to help you overcome fatigue and dramatically increase your energy levels. Now, I'm not talking about gimmicks and quick fixes and magic pills and stimulant and sugar-based energy drinks and energy pills. I'm talking about the cutting-edge science to help you build real energy and vitality at the cellular level, the habits to build a high energy body. Now, this is only available for the next few days for free from April 4th through the 15th. So go take action on this right now. Go to theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass and you can get access right now. theenergyblueprint.com/masterclass. Hope to see you over there.